Yep.
Let's see how it goes. So, yeah, how are you feeling?
Pretty all right.
Is it too early for you?
No, it's hitting 9 o'clock now a.m. So that's
Oh,
plenty of
okay.
time to wake up and get ready. So
That's good. Well, welcome. Welcome to to our interview series of hyperPad. And I'm really happy that you're here, that you made, despite the difference in the time zone, you still made it and you're here. So I'm really excited. So not everybody know about you here. And we do have younger users who are probably like, even 11 years old or younger, and I really think that you're an inspiration to a lot of people, and I would love to hear, like, to let other people know about your story. So we can start the interview today about you telling a bit about yourself. I know a lot because I read about you, but this is for our users, so yeah, we can start that.
all right. I am Hamish Finlayson. I'm 6 years old, 16 years old, and an entrepreneur that raises awareness on stuff like littering, autism, and road safety.
Mhm.
I'm from Australia and I've been doing entrepreneurial stuff since I was 11.
Wow, that's That's amazing. Wow. Like how old were you when you found out about like game development in general? Like were you like 11 years old, like, or younger than that?
I started finding out about what coding was at
Hmm.
school in grade 3. I was
Oh,
introduced back to a iOS app called Hopscotch, and
right. Yeah.
that introduced me to like the fundamentals of coding.
Mm-hmm.
And roughly around that same time, I think a couple years later, there was an ICT Explorers competition,
Right.
and where you have to use a technology solution to help a real world problem. And I decided to look around to see what alternatives to hopscotch there was because I wanted to branch out. And
Right.
I found out about this lovely little platform here and developed my first ever app, Littlebug Smash. So
Oh, that's amazing. So you always, like, you had an iPad, right? Like, because a lot of kids have iPads, and then I know that like my little cousins love playing with the iPad. When I first showed them like the tablet, they were crazy about it. So do you find that it was like easier for you like to like start, visualizing and create your own game by using the iPad?
yeah, definitely. Just having the device
Mm-hmm.
already just there, being able to be used was, a very good factor. Most coding platforms, especially the more aggressive high-end ones, stuff like Unity and Unreal
Yeah.
Engine, they require, beefy computers to boot up and load, lots of space to store the games.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, HyperPad's, just a single app that can fit on any iPad, pretty much.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. And even me, like I don't come from a software background, and I was able to create my first game, and I was amazed by that. And not everybody know that they're capable of creating their own game with like hyperpad. But like I want to talk about your journey as an entrepreneur, like a younger entrepreneur. And could you tell me like what is an accomplishment that you are most proud of in your entrepreneur and developer journey?
I would probably say that in 2016 was
Mhm.
probably the best year. That year, there was the Global Entrepreneurship of 2016 in the United States in Silicon Valley.
Mhm.
I went to an entirely different country, across the globe
Mhm.
and met, hundreds of thousands, hundreds to thousands, I think,
Wow.
of different entrepreneurs, all bringing their ideas together into this one place. It was very exciting, very fascinating. This little convention of that I was handpicked as well. It wasn't anyone can show up, say they're an entrepreneur and get in. They
Yeah,
had to pitch to the U.S. government that
for
they're
sure.
they
So,
saw my ambition and potential. And I just went to one of the best events that had Barack Obama in it as well. He was, yeah, I got to see him speak, which was, not every day.
So inspiring, very inspiring. And how was the process for you, like as a 11-year-old child going to a different country, like, you know, creating your own game? Like that must be a big deal for you. Like
It definitely was. It was very massive. I just realized, that I was chosen for this,
yeah.
that other people saw, my ambition and, that
Mm-hmm.
I,
Mm-hmm.
should follow up on that. I
For
didn't
sure.
just quit after 2016 either. I went to the 2017 Global Entrepreneurship Summit. I developed other games and apps afterwards. It
Wow.
was
So could you tell me about the game that you developed for, you know, the in the interview that you went for this event in 2016? What was the specific game that you created? Was that the Little Bug Smash, or was it an environmental game that you created? Mm-hmm.
I think it was just for like the small
Mm-hmm.
selection of games
Right.
plural that I created.
Mm-hmm.
I created a few games on littering and its harmfulness to the environment. The first
Yes.
one was Litter Bug Smash, which I think that was the one I submitted to the ICT Explorers
Right.
competition in grade 5.
Mm-hmm.
Around that time, I developed two other games, another one using hyperPad and one using a web app developer. I can't remember its name, but it was kind of designed to target two different kinds of audiences, one for,
Wow.
older adults and one for, younger children like 4 to 3.
Right. Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. Like behind all your accomplishments, what is like something that inspires you to like keep going, keep creating? Because I know it's not easy. I know when I was making my game, I was struggling a lot, and to be honest, I still do. So like, what is something that kept you going? Like for you, creating Triple Tree or like the Little Bug Smash?
I would probably say like the biggest factor that
Mm-hmm.
kept me going, I would say would have to be this little award here that I got from the US Ambassador John Barry. This little encouragement award for innovation really told me that, people appreciated what I'm doing, that if I continue doing this, that what I was doing made an impact on people and impact on the world at large.
For sure.
And and not
Mm-hmm.
only that, innovation award was, this nice little kind of like plasticky sort of little thing with all the
Yeah.
logos. It also was an invitation to go to the Global Entrepreneurship of 2016. So, I owe a lot to John Barry and his, advice to go and meet, all these amazing people across the
Mm-hmm.
globe, stuff like that. And seeing what's out there and how much they, appreciated my work and whatnot, really gave me the inspiration to continue doing what I was doing.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, it's crazy that you just started like a little kid playing with an iPad, like, you know, learning how to code, and then out of nowhere, you're being recognized. That's like an inspiration for you and for everyone. And like, what advice would you give to like young kids, like trying to get into software, or anyone that, or especially kids with disabilities as well, like trying to keep going?
I would just say one thing that I always see when I see, younger
Mm,
people, newer people, when they like learn about coding and, how, oh, these games I played were amazing. I want to make games like that.
right,
You need to realize that, it's going to be difficult.
for sure.
It's going to be a challenge no matter who you are or, whether or not you have a disability or not.
Yeah.
Games that you usually look up to, have large teams amounts of people, like hundreds of people working
Yeah.
on to create an amazing experience. But,
Mhm.
you're like probably one, maybe two people. So it's going to take time. There's going to be problems, and you just need to overcome that
Right.
and be able to push through any problems that the either the coding platform gives you, the industry as a whole gives you, or whatever
Mhm.
limitations.
Yeah, like I think in life, anything we do, like it's a struggle, right? Like we have to keep going and not give up. And it's amazing that you kept going and you didn't give up. And hopefully this interview can inspire whoever is watching to keep going with everything that you're doing. So going back to the inspiration behind all of your entrepreneurial journey, what is like, let's talk about the creativity part of it. It takes a lot of not only that, but it's amazing how you turn your passion into creativity by creating and developing games. So could you elaborate and talk about what creativity means to you in the development world?
I would say that creativity is what separates you from everyone else in the, coding gaming industry. That,
Yes.
any like usually most people can write code on how to move around, how to move the camera, basic controls and like stuff like that. But what you do with that basic code, what stories do you tell, what experiences do you give? That what makes your game special, what makes your experience more memorable than others.
Yeah, that's for sure. Like, I mean, it's about what you do, the experience that you do, right? And I really like that, for example, when you create a game with hyperpad, we do have a community where you can comment on each other's video games and try to cheer up with each other. I don't know if you see it, our Discord community, but we do have like an active Discord community that when we have questions about games, people cheer each other up. And it's really cool. Yeah, like going back to like hyperpad, I wanted to ask you, how do you think like our product and can inspire like your younger kids to become developers, in your opinion?
uh, I believe like hyperpad is probably one of the best applications for your spoken target demographic of younger children,
Right.
as most coding platforms requires a coding language.
Yeah.
Unity requires knowledge of C sharp. Unreal Engine has its own language. There's Python, there's SQL, there's JavaScript, all these bunch of different languages
Yeah.
for a bunch of different things, and that can be quite confusing and overwhelming. So
Yeah.
if you use a programming language that requires typing, you could like say, oh, that was a basic introduction, or this program doesn't give me what I need, so I have to move up to Unity and learn an entirely different language.
Yes.
With hyperpad, there is no need to really understand how to write code, but how to interpret the order of code.
Yeah.
It gives like the basic fundamentals. In my digital solutions class, I would say the term that my digital solutions teacher would be saying it gives a broad understanding of how pseudocode works. Like, that's what the blocks pretty much are. They give general broad instructions. All the
Yes.
complicated typing, all the syntax errors are hidden behind the blocks. So,
Yeah. So for those who doesn't know, like hyperpad has like a drag and drop behavior, which you basically add drops and like the box and the box, it's kind of do the code for you. Like the cool thing is that if you don't know how to code, you can make a game. Like I don't know everything about JavaScript, Unity, everything you're saying, I have no idea, but I can put some stuff together and it's really cool. It's like creating a puzzle, right? But yeah, like going back to like the classroom environment, like as someone with autism, like how do you think we can create like an inclusive environment free of stigma and prejudice and like for young students? Mm-hmm.
well, I guess what, happened with me, I guess that really made me feel more comfortable with my autism was, I guess, just everyone around me providing me lots of support. The
Yeah.
school, the Cathedral School of St. Anne and St. James here in Townsville, provided a lot of support with my adventures because, I was leaving school sometimes. I tried to make sure I only did it during the holidays or on the last week. But my parents gave clear communication to the school that this is happening, and they were like, "Okay, cool. We'll provide extra homework resources if you need it," stuff like that,
Yes.
which really helped me live out my ambitions and stuff like that. Speaking of parents, they were very supportive as well with my own projects. They weren't trying to project their own definition of success on me, which can happen in some households.
Yes.
there are some people with autism, whose interests, don't really align up with their family's, desires for a successful
Mm-hmm.
child in their own eyes. You know, they might want to do something with, like a trained mechanic instead of, being a doctor, something like that.
Right.
And best thing to do is not trying to discourage that, as that can be quite harmful, but
For sure.
try to encourage either the whole trained mechanic sort of thing, providing the tools and resources necessary, or just making them aware of the possibilities at most. You don't want to force it on them.
Yeah, for sure. Whoever's watching this, like, it's very important for us to like create an environment free of like, stigma and prejudice. And I think the best thing is really doing your research too, like knowing that just because you have a disability doesn't mean that you're less than anyone. And I'm really passionate about that because I do have like a learning disability myself, like I have ADHD. So my whole life, like I struggle with learning. So I will always tell the people when I interview them that if I had like, products like hyperpad when I was younger, I would probably like math. I would probably be more tech savvy. So it's really like going back to the classroom environment. And I wanted to ask you, what do you think that hyperpad being implemented in the classroom environment would be a creative way to like teach like kids, especially with disability, to create a more fun learning for us? Like, do you think that would be like a fun option?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that, hyperpad is, similar to back in grade three, I learned about, how hopscotch worked. I
Yeah.
believe that, hyperpad can be a good alternative because
Mhm.
with hopscotch, they have their own blocks of code, they have their own sort of logic as well. Whereas, there's some order to their drop and drags. They have their own FL statements that have to be written out, and
Mhm.
their own begins and ends that have to be clarified and whatever. Whereas hyperpad, is a lot more simple, so it can definitely be more useful to those with learning disabilities, as there's less, I guess, chaotic components or
Yeah.
strict
Mhm.
guidelines.
Yeah, for sure. I think sometimes like having visualization, the fact that like hyperpad works like a Canva, like you know what I mean? It really it's less intimidating, right? Like I really believe so. So that's why I asked that question. I really think that like we're really trying to like, reach out to the schools and be like, hey, like, and we did have previous schools that use our product. But I think it's, you know what I mean? It's amazing the things that you can do. But yeah, like, can you tell me a bit about what you're currently working on? Like I started reading some articles and I saw that you're learning more about virtual reality, which is like amazing. Would love to hear your new projects.
Yeah, so I've been
Hmm.
talking about Unity for quite a bit,
Yeah.
when talking about other alternative programs. That's what I've been actually using to develop the VR experience, since,
Mhm.
HyperPad obviously doesn't have that sort of capability.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
So I was using VR to create a road safety game to provide, people with, disabilities, learning disabilities, or, other problems to learn road safety in a very safe environment,
Right.
where there's no actual cars or anything like that.
Wow.
Because if you want to practice road safety right now, you have to find a road, walk both
Yeah,
ways across it. But there's always going to be unpredictability, unfortunately.
for
Someone
sure.
could be speeding or something, or
Yeah,
on their phone. So
mhm. I saw that one of the videos that you in your journey going to the US, you were had a chance to meet some people from Stanford and learn more about that. That's really inspiring.
yeah,
Wow.
the Stanford Google Glass that they were doing, that isn't so much virtual reality, that was
Hmm.
augmented reality, which
Mm,
was something I was also looking at to see if there was a way to incorporate what I was doing.
right.
But um, I decided that virtual reality would help with my vision more. So
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, it's crazy. Like, I had an assignment about virtual reality, and I really do believe that it's like the future. Like right now, with the whole pandemic thing, like, staying home, and like, we know that that's a new normal. So like technology is just gonna grow and more. And when we talk about accessibility, I think technology and accessibility, they're growing together, and it's beautiful to see the growth. Yeah, like
You always see like news articles talking about, how virtual reality is helping people with something,
yeah.
Probably most of the time you hear about virtual reality in most circumstances, especially, we're on YouTube live right now, I think. We're on
Yes.
YouTube. Yeah.
Yes.
Most of the virtual reality you would see here are, people playing games here. People, I guess, with VR don't, on YouTube, you don't see so much the whole, helping people with disabilities. But
Yes.
that's definitely something that, is happening, and, it isn't difficult to find. It's just, you have to look for it.
Yeah, I mean, just FYI for your information, I was like reading some articles about how Microsoft is coming up with like a sound system for people with disabilities. So people with visual disabilities can kind of see what the leisure experience that they're having by describing. It's really cool, like to see like technologies like that. It's really cool. And then like you as well, like growing from like from playing with a iPad, like you're now working with like virtual realism. I'm really excited to see what you're gonna come up in the future. I really feel like you're gonna be doing great. You're just gonna keep doing better and better. But yeah, like with your journey as like a developer, and an inspiration, like, and a role model for society. What are you grateful for? Like, what is something that you're really grateful for? You talk about your family and your teachers, but like, yeah, like you can. This is the time that I wanted to ask you about that.
Well, I guess I have a lot of people who've, helped me along the way. I've mentioned, the Encouragement Award for Innovation. That was pretty much the big kickstart.
Yes.
This whole thing, that couldn't have happened without, my parents flying me over, without the school, entering the ICT Explorers competition that was happening.
Wow.
I have done plenty of things, met lots of people. Blue Chili, Safety Culture, there's some local Australian companies, IT ones. Safety Culture was based in Townsville.
Right.
And, they were, entrepreneurial adventures. Blue Chili is like an accelerator for startups, providing them a company to get them all up and running. And Safety Culture is a company where they do safety audits using their own application to make sure that, workplace health and safety is being followed.
Right. Yeah.
And they've provided me lots of tips to help me grow in the entrepreneur sort of space, especially, with their focus on more doing, things for the better, for the good,
Yeah, like that's beautiful. And I think that like startups and, people who are grown-ups, you guys have to really focus on the younger kids right now. Like the younger kids are future generations. So the fact that you are getting help from them, it makes me like have hope, because like I really feel like sometimes like people don't take like younger kids seriously, but we should be like giving leadership opportunities for you guys. Like people should be empowering younger kids more, right? Not thinking that, well, they're just kids. Like you guys are capable of so many things, especially when you have like a disability too. I feel like having a disability means creativity, like, and going back to that point, I forgot to ask you, like, well, how do you think like the gaming world can empower people with disability? I think I already talked about it, but I wanted to hear your perspective in that point.
Well, I was talking about earlier, how creativity is what, separates you in the game design world. And,
Right.
Having a disability provides you with the opportunity to present new and unique experiences
Right.
about, your struggles or your successes dealing with these, learning disabilities or other forms of disability. Stories can be written, games can be made with those ideas in mind, and you can convey them to, global audiences. And that can empower you, that can raise awareness about these disabilities, their effects on people, stuff like that. It can be a great way to introduce people to these problems and allow them to do their own research as well, which you said it was very important. But, you know, you can't do research without knowing what exists in the first place. So
Right.
gaming is a very, you know, open medium. You can market to all sorts of people, you know. So
Yes. Mhm.
it's very important to
Yeah.
lots of people like that, probably.
Yeah, like it's amazing how within being in the gaming industry right now, it's just showing me like how people, like, it's a community, you know what I mean, and how we can empower each other and just grow together, you know. Just the fact that I was able to reach out to you like on Instagram and be like, hey, can I do an interview with you, like, you know, like, so you can inspire younger kids, and you said yes, you know what I mean, like, it's a smaller community, you know, like, and it's beautiful how powerful it is and how small it is at the same time, and it's like helping one another grow. I think that's the beauty of it. So yeah, like, I mean, the last question I have for you is, could you describe me in like 3 words what it's like to be in the gaming development world? I always like to end my interviews like that.
Describe 3 words. Well,
Yes.
my inner entrepreneur kind of wants to break that sort of rule. Um, I mean, I could try to give, you know, 2 blocks of 3 words.
Yeah, you can. It's okay.
Um, you know, it is very important, never give up. You know, like, it's very important to
Right.
not give up, pretty much.
Right. Never give up.